Okay.
Welcome back. We have a special guest today. Dennis Ring is the founder of Ocho Candy, one of my favorites. You're in Oakland, right? Your factory's in Oakland.
Correct.
Yeah,
Do you call it a factory, or is it like an elves workshop? Or
we have Oompa Loompas. We have Oompa Loompas who work and they work in our factory.
I should have known. So you're kind of the Willy Wonka of Oakland, then.
Well, I mean, there are a couple of other Willy Wonkas here in Oakland, but we are among the Willy Wonkas here in Oakland.
I really love your chocolates. I think they're superb, and I'm especially fond of the dark chocolate covered coconut.
No.
That's my drug of choice.
Oh yeah, I haven't tried them, so
we have to get some for
I'm
Olivier.
sorry, man. I just look at your website. It looks pretty cool, huh?
It's our best seller, Jim. It's one of our.
Oh, is it?
It's a product we're really, really proud of. It took a long time to perfect it, to find exactly the right kind of dark chocolate to use the shell. And then, interestingly, as the years have gone by, we have found out. Oh, somebody's just showed my website. Yeah,
how'd that get there?
I didn't do it. Did I do that?
I did it.
Yeah. But you see,
there it is.
What's inside counts is our company motto. But what we found out over the course of the years is that the coconut from Sri Lanka is different than the coconut from Vietnam, which is different than the coconut from Philippines. So we're pretty obsessed about making sure that whatever we put inside the chocolate is really compatible with the chocolate shell.
So those are actually good candies, which is great. I don't eat candies, and I'm not for them, obviously, because I do health talks and stuff. But this is something that I'm really happy you're doing, because people love candies, and the sad part is they eat terrible stuff. If you like candy, get a good candy. I mean, it's.
How did you get started in this? In all this, Dennis? How did this occur to you?
This occurred to me. Let me move back to 1997.
Whoa.
In that year, in March of that year.
That was before I was born, but I'll trust you.
Thank you for that.
No, that's when you had hair.
In 1997, I started the 365 program for Whole Foods.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
This started with Whole Foods knew they needed a private label program that was competitive and yet high quality and all natural. And they also knew at the time they didn't have the team that could do it. So I was invited in to lead a team that created the platform for 365. And during that time, I did everything from pet food and paper and body care and vitamins to frozen and juices.
Wow.
One of the things that occurred to me during those years was that every time there was an organic corollary to a mainstream American brand, it really proved popular with customers. So I always refer to mac and cheese because everybody had grown up with Kraft mac and cheese, which looked sort of nuclear orange. And then Annie's came out with Annie's homegrown mac and cheese, right? And then my friend Seth Goldman came out with Honest Tea as an alternative to Lipton tea. And so over the years, I thought like every time, and like the entire dairy set converted to organic. Right. At the time, in the late 90s, people expected more from organic. Olivier, right, a couple of doors down from Kitchen on Fire is Chez Panisse. And I remember walking by, I live in a neighborhood, and I remember years ago walking by, Alice would always put the source, the farm of the organic ingredient. Right. And I remember vividly one time seeing peaches from Frog Hollow.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that you just raised the bar. This is a guy who's growing peaches out in Brentwood, and his peaches are so good that a famous restaurant wants to call out the source. So my feeling was that organic needed to deliver more. And I began to think about what would happen if someone created an organic Snickers or an organic or coconut bar.
Fantastic, huh?
Yeah, because I thought that what I didn't want is preservatives and artificial flavors and artificial colors. So I kept thinking in terms of creating an organic format for the familiar American candy bar. And I moved on from Whole Foods and then created another platform for a brand called O Organics at Safeway. But during those years, I partnered up with my partner and CEO, and we started exploring the possibility of making and then distributing the Ocho Candy products. And that has led us to where we are today.
Is Ocho a what's the word I'm looking for? Is it a
8
acronym, or is it
It is. It's
just your 8th company?
No, I kept thinking about what am I with my 8th company. I kept thinking about what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to name this? What can I name this? And I kept thinking in terms of using organic and using chocolate, and then I married those two words together: O for organic and Cho for chocolate.
Wow. I see.
So Ocho, and I like that it's my logo. You can see my logo. I don't know where I have my logo back up. I have it here. I'll show it. Well, look, wait a minute. Let me get your bar that you like, Jim.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's a great logo.
What I liked about it was that it's really simple. You've got primary colors. It's easy to remember. And it is, everybody in America, certainly everybody in Europe, is going to know that this is also a number in Spanish, and it's in many of the Asian cultures, 8 is a lucky number. So when I thought about Ocho, I trademarked it, and we've stayed with it ever since.
So can Spanish-speaking people not use the number 8 anymore? Do they have to just skip right over to 9, or do they have to pay you money?
We trademarked Ocho. They can't use the number.
Oh man, people that have their birthday on the 8th must be mad.
Well, it's like leap year.
So I have to ask you this question because I thought of you the minute I read it in the paper, this new law that Berkeley has just passed to ban all, as they call it, so-called junk food, but primarily candy, chips, all that kind of stuff from the checkout lane, because of course people put it up there because it's an impulse buy. And it seems to me, I understand the logic. I understand that it's about people's health, but I also feel like they're throwing out the baby with the dishwater,
I agree. And it was a disappointing, but I've been living in Berkeley for 30 years. So I'm not surprised by these decisions that the city council takes. I think that there's an argument to be made. I'm very concerned about malnourishment, obesity, and other food-related issues in the United States. It's really serious. And especially, I think it becomes more evident in today's culture where we have COVID. And COVID is disproportionately affecting people who are obese and who have diabetes and other pre-existing conditions. So, but I think that people are still going to buy Tic Tacs or little pieces of gum or candy. I don't understand why they would outlaw gum at the front end, because it's not, at the cash register, it's not, you're not adding to obesity. Bear with me for 1 second. I have a sample here of something I'd like to show you.
Okay. I don't understand why people chew gum, but I wouldn't pass a law to keep them from doing it.
Well, you have to start somewhere. The thing is this: in this country, the food has been terrible for too many years, and people are sicker than any other where in the world. Something has to be done, and the candy is certainly not a good food. I'm not talking about your candy, Dennis. I'm really happy that you're doing that, because I've always wanted to do that, what you're doing, because I'm in health. I do a lot of health lecture. I work with doctors. And one of the things that saddens me is those candies that people eat all day long. So when I see stuff like that, I'm very happy, because this is fine. See, if you eat good food during the week, or 80% of good food, you can eat whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So I'm very happy that Berkeley passed a law like that. It's a principle. It is not doing any much. I mean, like, I'm sure it doesn't doing much. It's a principle. We need to start having people. People say obese people are responsible. In my opinion, they're not. The marketer are responsible. The one who are able to sell absolute crap food to the kids. Those are murderers. This is my opinion. So in a way, the government is trying to step in, and I think that's a good idea, even if it may not be the best way, but that's what I think. I mean, it's kind of like, so yeah.
But, for me, I agree. I think everybody agrees that it makes sense for people to be more mindful about how many calories, unnecessary calories they're eating. But I don't think that this is going to prevent people from buying candy and sweets. I want to show with you. I wanted to show you, Jim. Like, this is I'm going to open up a little Ocho Mini. This is just.
Oh, wow.
Oops, sorry. There we go. It's an Ocho Mini coconut.
Beautiful.
And you can see that it's got a tempered chocolate shell. I'm going to cut. Here, I'll show you. I'll cut it in half. I have some other samples here.
But if you cut it, you're going to have to eat it.
Well, come on over. So here's the coconut.
Oh, we will, man. We will come and see you. That's for sure.
And so you can see, really.
Yeah, no, it's.
This is just, it's dark chocolate.
Okay, now you're just being cruel.
Yeah, I am. Oh my God. I'm glad you're not here because you'd want half of it.
But and I'm not just trying to make this a commercial for Ocho, but I want to point out that because your chocolate, especially the dark chocolate, is so satisfying that I can eat one of those little Ocho things,
but those are
and I just don't feel like I have to have more.
I feel the same way. My favorite is actually the dark chocolate with the caramel. And I want to talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about what we were trying to do when we said. I've got some notes on my whiteboard over here because I know I'm going to.
Oh, nice! Thank you, man. Awesome.
But one of the things we were trying to achieve was, like, my partner Scott Kucherek and I were really upset when our kids went to the same grammar school together, and that's how we met. And they come in after Halloween, and they had all of this crap.
I know.
Oh my God.
Nasty, terrible stuff. And we kept thinking, like, why can't our kids go out and have on a Halloween night and come back with something that's a little bit more, that's not loaded with chemicals and preservatives? So we tried to make it, it's organic, the chocolate's fair trade, the coconut's fair trade. So we wanted to change the rules of the game in two different ways. One was by making it organic and affordable. And the second way was by using a different manufacturing process. So, Olivia, we actually use a tempered chocolate. We make the shell first.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So
nobody does that.
Nobody does it. You know what? Jim, Chris Lee, right?
Yeah.
Chris Lee was here. He's a friend.
You know, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he came by one day because we're buddies, and he was saying, like, "Where's your couverture?" He could not believe how we were making it. But what we're using is a tempered chocolate. And what happens when you have a tempered chocolate, and I can again use this little shell, you see how firm the texture is, the chocolate shell. It gives us an opportunity. Sorry, Jim. No, I'm not sorry.
All right, I'm turning this off right now.
Let's keep the sound, not the video.
But you know what? I'm going to show you another example. What it does is it allows us to have a less firm texture on the inside of our candy bar, because when you try most American traditional candy bars, they have a cookie dough-like center. And the reason they have to have a real thick center is because the way that gets made is it gets extruded or it gets slabbed, and then it gets cut into pieces and it goes under a waterfall of chocolate. What we wanted was to introduce a textural quality to the chocolate itself, and then also to be able to have a less dense center. So I'm going to turn my little laptop around again. I'm going to cut into my caramel.
You're gonna cut another one, James.
You're gonna love this. So here's my caramel bar. My caramel mini. It's a chocolate.
Wow.
It's a milk chocolate mini.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And I can't see so well there. But what you see here is when I spoon this out,
Wow.
you get to see, well, here, you can see how,
Oh, mine. Yeah.
and we make this caramel, we make the caramel here on premise. So instead of having a real chewy, like a sugar daddy or a sugar baby kind of thing, you just have a really pure caramel. And a note on that, we use organic butter when we make it from scratch. We use a true caramel syrup to add to it. And over the years, as we were trying to improve the product, we realized that we shouldn't be using organic vanilla extract. So we don't.
Right.
In fact, we use, I don't think my camera would show it, but we actually use, you can see a little cocoa bean, vanilla bean powder. We use ground vanilla bean as our vanilla flavoring.
Right.
It's a little more expensive, but it's much more, the mouthfeel is richer and more elegant.
You need less anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed the first time I had one of the bars, it was the coconut bar, I remember snapping it in half, and there's that wonderful how it snaps. And I just immediately remembered back to like a commercial candy bar, like a Snickers or something, and you go to break it in half, and it just bends all the way, and you kind of have to pull it apart, and it's like it's like a pizza. You've got this cheese stretching out, and it's a mess.
So
and that adds to the textural enjoyment of.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
That's not mine. This is not mine. Okay, but here's what happens. But here's what happens when I break mine in half. And it has a different. It's hot today, so everything is beginning to melt. But I want to show you the inside of this, because this is another thing that's kind of important to us here at Ocho. Here's a traditional American caramel peanut bar, and I'm going to show you ours. So this is the first one. It has, you can imagine who this is being made by.
Right.
And then here's ours, which has pretty much the same components. But the fact is, these are all organic, and it's a smaller bar too, because we found that when you use really good, true, like real chocolate instead of a compound, and when you use high quality ingredients, like our nougat is made with egg whites, so it's too rich. So instead of having a 56-gram bar, we brought it down to a 42. This goes back to that issue with the city of Berkeley. I mean, I know my product is candy and it's unnecessary, but at least it doesn't
have. Different, Dennis. Your product is made from an artisanal point of view. This is different stuff. You're not. It's not the same class of stuff. I don't agree. But
you're right. Yeah. It's not meat and potatoes. It's a treat. But it does. We deserve treats, and it does bring joy to people. But
and people are not going to stop eating candy.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about.
You haven't stopped eating candy since we started the show, so.
It's an occupational hazard.
Yeah.
Right?
I definitely find that with good dark chocolate, I don't want to eat as much, and milk chocolate is just not satisfying enough. So it's just all sweet, and that it's good in its own way, but even really good milk chocolate is better than the milk chocolate that they use in commercial candy bars.
Well, but that's not real milk chocolate in most instances. That's got extenders and preservatives. This is, if I'm going to have dessert, and this is, oftentimes my wife will do the same thing. If I'm going to have a dessert, I'm just going to have one of these little dark chocolate caramel. I don't eat candy very often at home because all day long we eat candy here. Tasting, like today we made today was coconut mini day, and they were fabulous, believe me.
How do I find that on the calendar? Like if I wanted to take a tour, how do I know that it's going to be coconut candy day?
Coconut day and coconut.
You'd have to know.
Do I have to know somebody?
I should have brought in. I was out right before the broadcast, and I was looking at. You got to know the founder. I was looking at a tray of dark chocolate coconut minis.
Well, we'll come and see you, Denise. We'll come and see you. Don't worry. We'll come and do because a good chocolate and a good coconut is actually good for you. So it is a different process. The sugar itself is not great, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. So we take into consideration. Look, we're very sensitive to what good food is and what it tastes like, and in moderation, and how many calories you need to consider. And then if you are eating a lot like this during the week, the importance of getting exercise. And my partner he's a serious CrossFit workout guy. And prior to COVID, I would be going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. But that's also partly for the creative process of like, what are we going to do next? And how do we develop our next product? And you get your brain working. But I do want to talk a little bit about, if I may.
Yes, please.
The technology that we use, because when we first set up here in Oakland, we were making everything by hand.
Wow.
And we would get a mold with many little, holes in it, fill it with chocolate, scrape it out, pour the chocolate out, and then refrigerate it. And after a few hours, when the chocolate's set, we would pipe in whatever center we were going to use. And of course, you can't do that for very long because the direct labor costs are super expensive. And years ago, we went to Europe and purchased a production line that combined two existing technologies, but in a manner that these two technologies had never been married before. And so this gave us the capability to make our bars and the minis on an automated line without sacrificing the quality of being a handmade product. But it's the only line of its kind right now in the world. And it's extremely reliable, extremely efficient. And we don't have as many direct labor costs. It's really, it really is hard to compete with the big guys.
Yeah, sure.
Right. With the price they offer. But the quality is important. People are looking for quality. More and more, we're going to see that people are going to pay for the food, and this is a good news.
Yes.
They will pay for whatever the cost. The cost is not, there's nobody that actually makes good food is rich.
No, I think you're right.
So the margin, and I tell people the thing with the food is the cheaper the product, the more money they make on it.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
So it's like, the cheaper the stuff is, these guys are getting rich out of your health, literally.
And that's what a big corporate manufacturer does, especially when they buy a small company. They say, oh, this is a great product, but we could save a penny on every pound if we used this ingredient, or if we cut back on, and then before you know it, it's a crappy product, and they're making money.
Right. And there's no honor, there's no dignity in a decision of that nature. But I wanted to point out one more thing. This is my full size peanut butter bar. It's just it's the idea. It's not a peanut butter cup with milk chocolate and peanut butter, but in terms of portion control, we also have a smaller, the smaller little cousin.
That's cool.
And would you say that's half or about a third of the size of the
bar? It's even less than a third. And this is important because there's a difference between, like, if you're out on a bike ride and you need quick energy, you can eat a whole bar. I when I was doing my bench tops and testing it with friends, my bike rider friends would keep saying, like, God, I need another one of these peanut butter bars because there's a little bit more protein. But if you just need a little sweet something, a mini is a really nice way to satisfy the desire for something sweet.
I want to point out, too, the importance of the fact that you use tempered chocolate. A lot of people don't understand what that term means, but it and I don't know if I can explain it as well, but it does add to the texture of the chocolate. When you temper chocolate, you get that incredibly smooth consistency and that mouthfeel that you don't get with, like you say, when you run something through a waterfall of chocolate, which has got all kinds of stuff in it to make it runny, to make it preserve. all that stuff.
Well, the tempered chocolate. There's a gentleman who just put up we found a magic. Have you found magic temperature range of different? You know what?
I knew there was magic involved. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, so we actually use. Hold on a sec, you guys. My battery is saying I might be low on energy, so bear with me.
Well, chocolate, because
if you suddenly disappear, we'll understand. But
yeah,
Dennis, you ate all the chocolate, so it's low on chocolate.
I took all the energy inside me right now. The thing is that we bought a special. So we melt chocolate, and then we run it from one tank to another tank, and then finally to a tempering unit that is set at specific temperatures. And so we add into a hopper small amounts of tempered chocolate that goes into the shell, into the mold for the shell. Only a little bit of chocolate at a time, because you only have a variance of about 1.5 degrees. And with that, it's usually around 89 degrees that we're using to temper our particular chocolate. And without it, two things: you get a really nice shine. I don't know if you can see it. The shine is really evident, as opposed to, say, this one, which is much less. Yeah. But also, when you get that tight seal on the chocolate, it pops out of the mold, because then after we fill it, we put the bottom on, we chill it, and then it goes through a mechanism that dislodges the minis and the bars. Can you hold on for 1 second? I'll be right back, because I'm afraid I will lose energy. 1 moment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
fun,
Dennis is never going to sell his chocolates to every person in America, because it's not that kind of production, and
that's what we appreciate, man.
And there are a lot of people out there. There are millions and millions of people that are never going to spend an extra 25 cents or 50 cents for a bar of chocolate when they can get a Snickers bar.
Unfortunately.
And and that's okay. You're never going to reach those people. But I always say Dennis, it's like pasta. Really good pasta from Italy. That's the best there is, like rusticella and all these. It's still pasta. It's still not that much more money than buying a crappy pasta. So, and it's the same with the chocolates. It's not like your chocolate bars are $20 a piece. I mean, they're just chocolate bars.
When I was doing the 365, I did a plain and then a milk chocolate and a dark chocolate almond bar for 365 years ago. And I ended up going over to Switzerland in order to find a supplier.
Do they make chocolate in Switzerland?
I think they might. I'm not sure.
They eat lots of it.
But we went to this place, and they had equipment from, like, it was all manufactured between 1900 and 1920. And it's the same thing, Jim, that you were talking about, because good pasta starts with really good wheat flour, and then how it gets milled and how finely. I mean, I learned all this when I was doing the 365 pasta over in Italy. All of these different characters, even the water, is critically important. Everything. And in chocolate, it's the mix of the beans that you're using. How long you conch the chocolate is incredibly important, because if you don't conch it, you get that kind of granular, sugary.
What's
pasty.
You want to explain that, please?
Conching is a process whereby the chocolate flows in and of it. It's almost, in my mind, it's like when you're making a pastry dough and you keep layering butter and flour and butter and flour on top of each other, and you end up creating a different textural quality. Even the guy who I was talking with, the guys from. Oh, wait a minute. The little wafer company in Italy.
I know who you mean.
Loacker.
Yeah.
And they're up above Bolzano. And I was talking, the guys, it turns out the U.S. guy in charge of Loacker really likes the Ocho coconut bar. And you meet all these guys at the campus. So anyhow, I trade him coconut bars for his product. And I found out that one of the things that they found really improved the quality of the wafer was the dissolved solids in the water that they were using to make the wafer. These little teeny things have a tremendous impact on the final outcome of the product.
Crazy.
Well, and also you mentioned the chocolate. You're buying fair trade chocolate too,
Yeah.
so you're paying top dollar for
What is
good quality chocolate.
This is something I always wonder. How do you regulate fair trade? I mean, is it well regulated? How do you?
Yeah, that's a good question, Olivier. You know, the thing is, let's start with organic and then move over to fair trade. Why'd they use copper pot? Wait, listen, I use copper pots today. Michael, Charles Rand, I use copper pots. I'll come back to the copper pot. But in terms of fair trade, there are third-party independent agencies go in and certify fair days wages, no labor abuses, whether it's children or long hours or underpayment or people being trafficked, which is very common. So we really felt it was important to make sure that not only was our product organic, so then it doesn't have pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, and it's made in a way that conforms to cleanliness and so forth. But the idea of fair trade was sort of taking it one step further to make sure that the farmers and the co-ops and everybody who were growing the product were in compliance with fair trade requirements globally. There was a question about copper pots. We do use
a question from Michael about the copper pot, and then.
Well, listen, it's because
this is a guy who's really nosy.
No, that's the guy.
Anyway, back to the copper, and then I'll get back to the tempering. The copper distributes the heat. We use great big. They're like 30-gallon copper pots, and they're placed in over these gas cookers, and that's how we make our caramel. It's also how we make our nougat after we whip it to cook it down. It's a really beautiful medium for the distribution of heat uniformly around the entire kettle. And I'm sure, Olivia, you know more about this than I do.
No, but that's why we've used those in the kitchen, except when they're covered with butter.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of accident with that, and now we can't use those anymore unless they've been checked on putter issues.
If we had more time, I'd take you out and show you my copper pots. But the other question,
if you ever stop making chocolate, you can make Parmigiano Reggiano, because that's the same fat they use to cook the milk in.
I have a whole. We got from France cases and cases of these cases. I mean,
those are made by Mauviel.
I think aesthetically, I think there's more beautiful than a copper pot.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my photos to see if I have any of my copper pot pictures. Oh yeah, here's one. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Oh yeah.
It's that's caramel cooking.
Oh yeah. It's moving.
Okay, so the question was, what was there was another question about the second temperature. What is the second temperature for your tempering? We I think roughly, and I have to go back and double check, but I think roughly we put it into our hopper at about 90 degrees. And by the time it gets down into the actual mold, it's probably at 88 or so. We actually have to keep it moving. You know, the idea about tempering is that you agitate the chocolate and you heat it at the same time so that the sugar molecules combine in such a way that when the chocolate relaxes and dries, you have this connectivity of the molecules that allows for a shiny surface and a more tensile strength. I'm pretty.
You want to be careful what you tell Kenneth, because I think he's planning on setting up a competing operation.
Not letting too many people peek under the tent. This is all.
No, he wants to.
Don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Looks like big money. Well, you know, Michael, it takes a large fortune to make a small fortune. So that's the way it is.
So, chocolate is very interesting. We talked about chocolate a lot. We've talked about chocolate with a lot of examples. Chocolate is a very interesting product. It melts at around 94 degrees. So there's a whole range of things where things happen. And what I like to tell people is when you look at chocolate, I look at the 100% chocolate, or you look at an eggplant, the eggplant skin, the skin of the eggplant.
Yeah.
It's interesting because they have the same component. So you need to understand something. Chocolate is not brown. It's deep, deep, deep purple. It's a bunch of phenolic compound, very, very close together. So this is very important to understand. It's a lot of antioxidant. It's extremely high. There's a lot of cool nutrients in there, and I want to do a video on that one day. But there's something like there's a bunch of cool stuff that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
That are they're called redox. It's basically they are able to give their electron and antioxide for 1,000 times before they die. It's an incredible powerhouse.
Here in the Bay Area, we have a number of really good chocolatiers.
Yeah,
and we have some really, really good.
We had the guy from downstairs. He could not talk to us because of his video, but
But I know that's downstairs, and then you've got Dandelion over in San Francisco.
Right.
You've had long-standing family companies like Guitard, which makes just a range of fabulous.
Yeah, I love Guitard.
Yeah.
Not to mention there's all these little chocolate makers around. Some of them are better than others. Some of them I'm not crazy about, but there are a lot of them.
You know, it really is a lot like coffee, because you need to know how to work with your raw materials in order to get them to express the flavors that are there. Like you can over roast coffee. Right. I mean, I knew Alfred Peet a little bit, and I for decades I wouldn't drink anything but Peet's. But the same is true with chocolate. You have to know how to treat the cacao and how to ferment it when you're harvesting it. And how to blend. I think it's really important. You can do single source cacao, but when you know how to blend it with a few other, with chocolate with other characteristics, you get a much more complex and memorable product.
Well, Dennis, Olivier and I would love to do a show from your factory someday.
All
right.
If for no other reason than I can sample the chocolates while I'm there, and I'd love to turn Olivier on to the coconut bar and others.
You know what? I have a paella pen I need to return.
Oh,
a paella pen?
Yeah.
Is that how you make your chocolate?
No, that's how I eat my dinner.
Nothing wrong with a chocolate paella.
I just did a paella class today. Funny.
If I work this right, you can come on a day when we're making coconut bars or coconut minis. And on the same day, I would hope that we'd be cooking the caramel, because literally
that'd be fun to see.
It's one of the most heavenly aromas.
Oh, I'll bet.
The whole factory just smells of butter and sugar and vanilla steaming and boiling and cooking. It's fabulous. All right.
Well, Dennis, thank you so much for being here today. This was great.
You know, Dennis, maybe we can come to your factory and see how things are made. It's pretty. People would love that. People would really like that.
Yeah, but we just want to make sure that Kenneth isn't watching, because
now I'm worried.
He's going to learn too much.
Yeah. All right, you guys.
Thank you, Dennis. I'll see you soon, and we'll do this again.
All right.
And Dennis, the show is always on YouTube channel as archive, so you can, if you need it, it's always there. They stay all of them on my YouTube channel on Kitchen on Fire.
I can't wait to rake in all the royalties, Olivier.
Yeah.
You have to wait. It takes about a week, and then you get nothing. And then the week after, it's the same price, so it's good.
Yeah.
We simply don't know how to spend all the money, so
it's a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Dennis. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Oh, that's great, man. Wow.
That was a good discussion.
And so, Dennis, you can stay or leave, whatever you want. Oh, it's done.
So, yeah, I can't wait for you to try his chocolates. They are.
Oh, look, Michael wants to invite himself. No.
Oh, okay. Invite himself where?
To the chocolate.
Oh yeah. You'll have to only go virtually.
Oh my God. All right.
It's interesting, all these laws that get passed to protect
Right.
us from ourselves.
Yeah.
On one hand, the libertarian in me says, no, I don't like that. But on the other hand, I think, why can't people control themselves? And if they can't, we all end up paying for it, because when people get sick and they get obese and they get ill, I mean, it's a tax on the whole system. So people should be responsible enough to control themselves. And
no, but that's not even. I mean, that I think the point is deeper than that. We have to, people like this guy, Dennis. He makes good product. We should be proud of it. This is what the type of thing I want to see. If people eat candy, eat good candy. Yeah, that's great. No, nothing is wrong with the candy. That's not that is absolutely untrue. It's fine. It starts to when people make really crappy food and they sell that. I don't think that's a good idea. If kids are eating candy, I ate candies, good candies, but I ate candies when I was little, very not much. But it's fine. It's
right.
okay. Right?
Well, my parents didn't let us have tons of candy, but we certainly ate it and it didn't kill us. But what gets me is the big candy companies, they make a crappy product, but then they spend millions marketing it to kids. And I'll just tell a really quick story. I was watching something with my granddaughter the other day. She was watching some show, and every time there was a commercial, it would be for all these, it was mostly for toys. And she would sit there, she's 3, and she'd sit there and she'd say, Pa, I want that. And the next commercial would come on and she'd say, Pa, I want one of those.
Right.
And it was just like, oh my God, it's just direct.
Crazy, huh?
It's like, as though they plugged her into something and she had no control over herself anymore.
That's what I'm saying, man. The marketers are the worst people in the world.
Yeah.
They are the, if as a person you work in a company, and really, I mean that, if you work in a company and you sell poison to kids, this is terrible. You should not be able to sleep at night. I'm sorry. You make tons of money selling really crappy food. It's not, no, this is really not a social, it's not a good thing. You're not a good person. I'm sorry. You make lots of money. That's great for you. Good.
Yeah.
Good for you. Keep
and
poisoning
you got the sports stars selling soda pop to kids too, saying this is what you should drink after the game. Drink Sprite and Coca-Cola. And
yeah, it's so these people needs to be accounted for. Absolutely, yes. And also, but anyway, that's going to be another whole other discussion, right?
Yeah. It's no surprise to me that chocolate has health qualities. I mean, it's a plant.
Lots of them.
And it's a marvel to me that it took us so long to figure it out. Oh my God, socialism. All right, Kenneth, when the revolution happens.
Market, that's
yes,
and that's true. And this is where the point is, we need to stop that. We need to stop all this. Because if they didn't promise that product was good, nobody would even buy that.
How ironic is it, though?
With the help of the government, though, the government and the market. So the government has a huge responsibility as well.
How ironic is it, though, that margarine was invented in France? You think that'd be the last place that they'd... But they did it for a reason, and the reason is gone. And they
trusted the government. They trusted science. They trusted the government. They trusted those people that actually they wanted to make money. And nobody saw that. And now people are confused and they don't even trust their doctors here anymore. I mean, it's very crazy. People they don't trust anyone. And it's a problem, right? I mean, how do you evolve from that?
Someone told me that in China, they have a system where the old-fashioned way was you paid your doctor a regular thing, and the doctor's job was to keep you well. And they made teas for you, and they did, it was always keep you well. You didn't just live your life and get sick, and then you go to the doctor and say, heal me. Your doctor was to keep you well. And that's it. As Americans, too many Americans feel like they can just live any way they want, take no responsibility for their own health. Yeah. And then when they get sick, then they demand that medical science makes them well again.
They can't do that.
Yeah,
It's like the story of
bad system.
the guy who goes to a doctor and they go to the doctor and the doctor says to his patient, "Hey, your check came back." He's like, "Yeah, my back pain too."
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to show you something, but maybe I'll do next week. What do you think?
I had a friend that he had a frog growing out of the top of his head. Right,
Okay.
just grew right out of the top of his head. So he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well, when did you first notice this?" And the frog said, "Well, it just started with a little pimple on my ass." It's a terrible joke, but it's one of my favorites. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was very hard to watch Dennis sit and eat that chocolate and coconut bar. I hope you get to try one day, Olivier.
I never tried it. I saw that and I will buy some.
I'll bet you Dennis brings me some at Cesar because, like he said, he's going to return a pan. So
we need to do something. We need to do a shoot over there. I want to see how that's made. It's really cool because a good candy is very fantastic, right?
That's right.
It's an art form. It's like making pasta, like you said, making cheese. Those are all the tradition stuff. We need to keep those going.
Well, it's interesting, too, how he said one of those little minis is like really all you need for dessert. I mean, for people that really, there's a lot of people that just don't feel like a meal is complete unless they have a little something sweet afterwards.
Well, actually,
I've gotten out of the habit, but I do like a little dessert once in a while.
I was going to show you a quick dessert, actually. I think I have time, right? Let me get my goat cheese. Hold on,
Okay.
I'm going to show you a very quick dessert that is actually fun, healthy.
I think quick, simple, easy desserts are the best because I just can't usually spend a whole lot of time making dessert, and I like something kind of fresh. You know, I like fruit. I like.
Well, there's a lot of fruits right now, right?
Right.
So, let me see.
That does not look like fruit to me.
You're wrong.
That's strange fruit.
It's el queso.
Ah.
So I'm gonna do what I like to do with this is that when I get too many stone fruits that I can't use, I'm gonna do something with goat cheese and honey. So my garbage. All right.
Nice.
Let me show you something. So I have my table here, and actually, how about I do this? Couple of plums. Very easy dessert. Ramekin. I have a really good maple syrup. This is from Berkeley Bowl. I mean, not. This is where I bought it. Okay, it's a really good one.
They don't make it there.
Yeah. Some crushed nuts and a few blackberries. And I can do something really quick. I can just cut this guy just like that. Cut those. Some fruits. Maybe I'll do both. I have my oven going. Boom. Cut that around, right? This I'll keep for later. I can make little slices, little cubes, whatever it is, okay? And I can start to load my
This is good too when the fruit's not super ripe because because you can bake it and make it a marvelous.
Right. Okay, so you just load it up.
You shouldn't cut those little labels off. That adds good roughage.
The label, I know. You know, sometimes it's funny because I do that. You know, I wash my stuff and I look around, and then there's gonna be a label somewhere. Like,
I know.
Okay.
Well, how would anyone know that was a plum if it didn't have a label on it?
Yes.
You might think it was an apple.
Actually, that was yes, that was a plum. I can put a few berries in there just like this, right? Okay. I can some crushed nuts. I have some cashew. Okay. Very easy, right?
Hmm.
Little maple syrup.
Maple syrup makes everything better.
Well, maybe you're right. And a piece of goat cheese. Just like that. See? Look at that. How fast that is, right? Really fast. Okay. Let me go wash my hand quickly.
Quickly.
I am washing my hand.
Now you got the oven preheating right now. You could do this after dinner. I mean, if you had somebody for dinner and you just wanted to make a quick dessert, you could do this at the spur of the moment.
So exactly, that's the idea. You can have something. You have some goat cheese or feta or whatever. This needs to go. Now I want you to see something though. This guy, see how pretty they are. They need to go into a little tray, right? Because this is what's happening. I have my things go in the oven. Those little guys, they go in the oven. The problem is when they're hot, they're really hard to catch. So it's going to be a nightmare to pick them up. So you want to put them on a tray, right? This is way easier to go in the oven. Way
Yeah.
easier. I can just go in the oven. I'm going to go at 400 degrees. 400. Okay. And that's
Very
it.
nice.
And then you wait. Right? Patience will come to people who wait. You know that, huh?
I have no patience for waiting, but the tray is also good if it boils over a little bit. If those fruits start bubbling up and they boil over, it's probably not going to happen with those, but sometimes
you never know. And that's the thing. You never know what's going to happen in your oven. And a lot of time you're going to see things coming out, and that goes in the bottom of the oven, and then it burns, and then that smell doesn't go away.
Very nice. Well, that is a sweet little fast, easy, fresh dessert. Strange fruit or something entirely different. Or as Monty Python used to say, and now for something completely different. Trifles are a good quick option too. I don't think of trifles as being that fast, but I guess they could be. Trifles an English dessert where you have sponge cake on the outside, and then you do sort of layers of cream and fruit or whatever. I don't think of them as being real quick, but I guess you could make one pretty quickly if everything was cooked.
Well, there's a lot of dessert we can make quickly. I make a lot of dessert quick. I make, except I could show you a dessert next time, I guess.
I used to do a dessert that a friend of mine taught me, and it was you have to make some pastry dough in advance. So I would do that and have it in the fridge, and then what you do is you just roll out little rounds about this big, and you quickly saute some apples with a little sugar. And then you put the cooked apples inside the pastry dough. You fold it over, and you just sort of make like a little empanada. Throw those in the oven. And again, it's very quick. They don't take long to bake at all. And
so one thing you can also is add some puff pastry in your freezer.
Right.
Or phyllo dough. Phyllo dough is better quality, by the way. The puff pastry you find in most stores is not great. I want to point out that the pepperidge dough is just there's no butter. So just so you know, so it's a vegan dough.
There is one good brand. It's called Dufour.
Dufour, that's the one I buy.
Yeah, that's really good stuff.
So it's basically 3 times the price.
Yeah, but it's not that expensive. I mean,
it doesn't matter. That's puff pastry. The other one is not. But the pepperidge is not. It's fun to work with, but it's vegan, and it's just I don't know.
It's not the same.
Well, there's no butter. I don't know what they put in there. Right?
I like my pastry to taste like butter. There's nothing like it.
No, butter is very specific to pastry, huh?
Right.
You can cook with whatever you want, But pastry and butter is it's hard to replace. It's hard to replace. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you cannot. That flavor, that it's a silky. I don't know. There's something about butter. Weird.
I told you about when I worked at Dean and DeLuca, I had a woman come in and wanted to know if I had a cookbook about classic French pastry that didn't use any butter, dairy, or sugar, I think. Or
Oh my God.
maybe it was eggs, dairy, and sugar. And I told her, I said, well, those are pretty much the big three. I mean, you take those three things away, you don't have French pastry. I mean, you can take any one of them away, maybe.
But you know, in the south of France, we do a lot of vegan pastry without being. That was not meant to be, but they are, and they're really good. And in Spain also, look at the. No, maybe not the. Well, when you look at the tartare de Santiago.
Yeah, it's all made with olive oil.
There's an egg in there.
Yeah, eggs are hard to get away from, but yeah, you can use olive oil in a lot of things, and like baklava doesn't have any butter in it.
It's completely vegan, and there's a few things, so you don't have to have butter all the time. There's great olive oil cakes that.
Yeah, but eggs are kind of indispensable. How are they doing?
2 minutes. By the end of the show, it's going to be just done. Pretty cool, huh? I mean, that was like 10 minutes. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, and again, you have somebody for dinner and you can make that on the spur of the moment. That's really good. And if you go to the farmer's market, the fruit is fabulous right now. So I'm always trying to figure out things to do. And I love, love, love baked fruit. Baked tree fruit, especially stone fruit, is so good.
Don't bake them too much so they keep, their good flavors, but all the stuff you put in there, like I'm just waiting for the goat cheese to burn a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not cooking the dessert, right?
Uh-huh.
It's just about getting that goat cheese a little bit colored.
Well, we should do a classic clafoutis one day on the show, too.
Can do that.
That's also a great way to use all kinds of fruit because all you do is make this simple batter.
Clafoutis is so easy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really just like making a pancake batter and pouring it over some cut up fruit.
It's really the batter, yeah. Really.
I just got a juicer, and a smoothie is a good dessert option now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smoothies are great because they keep the fibers. And you don't get just the juice, because fruit juice is a terrible idea. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people know that by now, but hopefully everybody knows that.
I'm not sure I understand that he's got a juicer, but he's making smoothies with it. Maybe he's got his
trying to confuse you.
He's got his terminology mixed up. Oh, I can taste it. I can taste it already.
Are you working today? Are you coming?
No.
I'm leaving anyway.
Nope. I'm going to have cocktail hour when this show is over. And I'm not going to apologize for it.
Where?
In my kitchen and living room.
Oh, yeah.
Please educate me. Well, Kenneth. I'll educate you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he has a blender if he's making smoothies. Because a juicer is really to extract juice from the fruit. So that's what you don't want to do.
No, I think he's just a smoothie operator.
Maybe. All right. How are those little tarts?
I need to show you guys. I'm gonna stop because it's the end of the show anyways, but this is what it looks like. I could give it a little longer, but now I have this really cool dessert that is really awesome.
Nice.
Oh yeah. So I could cook it a little longer just to give it a color, but actually that's actually perfect right there.
Mm-hmm.
Boiling a little bit. Nice.
Very nice.
Oh yeah.
You can even just...
That's good. Oh my God. No.
Could you use just cream? Could you just use a little bit of heavy cream and
Yeah.
cook it that way? That
And
would
to
still
make
be good.
To make that dessert vegan, and it's very easy. Instead of goat cheese or cream, you put coconut milk and a little,
yeah.
coconut on the top, and you go in the oven, and you have a beautiful gratin that is completely vegan and super, super awesome. Thank you,
Nice.
Kenny.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Dennis,
everybody.
that was really, really good.
I'm really glad Dennis joined us on the show today. Look for Ocho bars when you're out.
Very happy to see that people are making good candies. I'm very happy. Seriously, it's very important.
Look for them at the checkout stand while you still can.
Yeah. All right.
You won't be able to soon. All right. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.